Good morning. Happy Saturday, everyone. Dr. Jared here discussing The Paleocardiologist, the book by Dr. Jeff Wolfson. For those of you that have been following consistently, one of the things that I think is cool about this chapter is it really finally is a point where you look at a lot of the good, the things that you can do or that your body's doing intelligently. I will say this chapter is a little bit heady, meaning that it talks about a lot of like immune responses and inflammatory responses and that kind of stuff. But ultimately, the body fights back, goes back to getting to the cause of the problem and how nearly, you could argue, everything or nearly everything that is done in your body is your body's attempt to do the best that it can or to heal itself. So it first talks about, really, when it talks about the body fighting back, there's a few things or markers. So the cause of the disease is either inflammation or oxidative stress or immune overstimulation. Now, this is true for heart disease, but it's true for many others. But, a series of symptoms is really what labels you with the disease. Yet, the cause of high blood pressure isn't a lack of blood pressure medication. The cause of thick blood isn't a lack of aspirin. I mean, I think most people know that, but yet when you get diagnosed, I got diagnosed and I have to take this. I just finished adjusting this morning, and we have our article out about cholesterol right now, and it says, well, I had a couple people say those cholesterol drugs make me feel terrible, but my doctor says, I have high cholesterol, so I have to be on them. But there was never that thought of like, I wonder what I could do to help my body heal itself. So we're really going to go through what your body does and also some action steps and some things to request when you do get your blood work at your doctor. So if you get to page 135 here, it talks about sickness is caused by too much of a bad thing or not enough of a good thing. Inflammation has the root word inflam, inflamma, which ultimately goes back to being on fire. So your body being on fire in some way, you have inflammation. And when you think about this, inflammation sounds simple. Reducing inflammation, whether that's through exercise or detoxification or not eating sugar or whatever you're doing, reducing inflammation is so important, but yet it doesn't just affect one thing. Inflammation is in the root, or it is part of the cause of not only heart disease, but cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, and pain. How many people have severe back pain due to inflammation? And, again, it just comes back to what are you doing to reduce that? So a couple of things that I think is interesting. So Dr. Wolfson states on that page that when somebody has pain, he links pain to increasing their risk of heart disease because it can raise your blood pressure. It can do so many different things. Plus, it's a sign of inflammation, which is linked to heart disease. Now, if you go to page 136, there's a very good diagram, and it talks about free radicals. So there's this huge diagram. There's also a very good diagram on page 137. So there's these free radicals. What's that? So oxidative stress is most easily described as rust. Like if you think of rust on a metal, or if you've ever had an apple or an avocado and it starts to turn brown, that's oxidative stress. So how does your body stop oxidative stress internally? Well, it uses what are called antioxidants. Antioxidants are in fruits, they're in vegetables, they're in most healthy foods in some way, shape, or form. But some things that it would be considered antioxidants are like vitamin C and vitamin E and N-acetylcysteine, which again, I know is a huge word, but these are different things that can help your body fight free radicals or fight oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is linked to plaquing your arteries. So by taking in more antioxidants, it's in theory, what it's doing is reducing the oxidative stress or the plaquing of the arteries in your body. So again, that's where it talks about sound the alarms on page 137 here. What you're doing is you're helping your body heal itself or prevent. This is really what comes back to when they say, like, once you have a partial clog or plaquing in an artery, like it's always going to be there. There are lots of studies that show that you can reduce plaquing over time if you completely change your lifestyle. One really cool thing, we talked about LDL, that's the bad cholesterol they talk about. Well, LDL is a transporter, and so LDL that's healthy actually can take vitamin E around and smooth or reduce oxidative stress, which I think is super cool. The fact that you can really help your body heal itself when you change your lifestyle. So even if you have some of these diagnoses, I would really strongly encourage you to think about, what can I do to get to the root cause of my problem? On page 138, it talks about a blocked artery is similar to scarring. So, and that's where I'm talking about where it can go away, or it's a response to the damage itself. Now, talking about testing, the simplest and easiest test to request from your doctor is the C-reactive protein, or CRP. It talks about PLA2 as well, but CRP shows total body inflammation. If you've been following these previous videos, you know that we've talked about CRP, or C-reactive protein, quite a bit, because it's an inflammation marker, but if it's high, there's no drug to give for it, and therefore it's often not tested, it's often not looked at, even though it's this cardiologist's opinion that it should always be checked. So oxidative stress, or free radicals, come from pollution, which we talked about previously. It comes from heavy metals, it comes from mental or physical stress, poor foods, chemicals, and free radicals aren't just linked to a heart attack, they're linked to accelerated aging or looking worse. They're in age as well. They're linked to cancer, diabetes, and dementia. So again, very similar to inflammation, oxidative stress and free radicals are linked to very, very similar things. So if you look beyond that, and I circled this in my book, you can see all the things that free radicals or oxidative stress do. Now, continuing into the second half of this chapter, some antioxidants that I just mentioned, the vitamin C and E and N-acetylcysteine, studies have shown for all of these different vitamins or nutrients that taking them, if you had to have heart surgery, taking these things reduces your risk of having atrial fibrillation after you have heart surgery. And it states, and again, I'm quoting out of this book, even though these studies show that, the doctors aren't, unfortunately, prescribing or recommending this. Even if they're going to recommend a cholesterol drug after, they don't recommend the things that might prevent you from needing a drug, which in my opinion is very disappointing. Now, again, am I the one prescribing? Have I done all this research? Absolutely not. You should do it for yourself. If you want to look these up, or if you're in the medical field, or you feel like, well, of course my doctor has read the research, you can look at it for yourself. That's why we're giving this book away complimentary to all current clients, and it's easy to purchase on Amazon or wherever you like if you're not a current client. Again, going beyond this, page 142, antioxidants boost glutathione. If you remember, your liver makes glutathione. It's the most prevalent antioxidant in your body. And I like to describe it when I do my seminars as like gas in a gas tank. You're given a lot when you're young. Your body produces a lot, but kind of like running out of gas. If you're driving the engine too fast or too hard, you're going to burn through gas a lot faster. You're not going to get the same mileage out of your vehicle. So think of glutathione as your liver's antioxidant, but if you're not giving it the precursors, if you're not giving it the building blocks, a lot of times that just flat out doesn't happen, or you have less, and that's how people build up toxicity. So the book now finishes, or the chapter finishes, with autoimmune issues. I mean, holy cow, think how many people live with autoimmune issues, everything from eczema to rheumatoid arthritis, to all these different autoimmune things. And really, autoimmune conditions are a series of labels, a bunch of symptoms that get wound up and called a disease, but they're really super inflammatory. Now, this is where I feel like you should feel empowered. Your immune system is smart. Autoimmune is overstimulation of your immune system. Now, that's often done, and you can argue, like we talked about in the last post about heavy metals, vaccinations, having, consuming metals in your food and your water, and from pollution, all that kind of stuff. But additionally, your body has two different immune responses. It has what they call the innate response. In chiropractic, that's what we talk about so much. So, I talked about rust with antioxidants. If you want to talk about arthritis in joints, that is not normal. So studies have shown that people who get adjusted can reduce arthritis progression in their spine. It can reduce arthritis progression in their knees. Is it going to stop? It depends on how frequently you're doing it and how hard you are in your body, but you can reduce it by getting to the cause of the problem, which is that the joint isn't moving properly. Well, innately, That's what they call your body's first line of defense. So if you came in contact with a virus or a bacteria, your innate response would be for your immune system to try and kill it without having to use fever, which is when you start to feel like crap. The reason you feel like crap is your body has to spend so much energy, and it needs to use the fever, and it needs you to slow down and not eat or evacuate whatever it can. These are all your body doing the right thing, even if it doesn't feel good at the time. So innate is the first line of defense. Adaptive is the long-term memory. So let me use, I'm old enough, I did not have a chickenpox vaccine. I just got chickenpox. And so, when you look at it, the issue with that is that when I had chickenpox, I then developed a lifelong immunity. It's very, very rare for somebody to get chickenpox again once they've had it. Unfortunately, vaccines wear off, and therefore you need booster after booster after booster to keep the same immunity, because they do not create lifelong immunity. And that's the problem that people run into, is the more we try and treat disease from an outside-in model, we don't let our innate and adaptive immune response work, we unfortunately create bigger and bigger problems. And, I think many of you are seeing the writing on the wall with some of the things over the last several years, not just what's going on right now. Additionally, as it says, and I haven't mentioned this yet, so this is probably our last day of talking about the downsides of vaccines for a little while, but on page 144, it talks about vaccine adverse events reporting system. So you may or may not know this, but people who have a vaccine injury, whether they have a seizure, whether it kills them, whether it causes SIDS or is linked to autism or whatever happens, there's a special vaccine court that they plead their case, and then they get separate payout. They can't actually sue the company themselves, but there are thousands of vaccine reporting events about heart-related issues after somebody has a vaccine. They have a heart attack within 6 hours of a flu shot, is one of the examples of this book. So, keep in mind that people do have side effects to these things. There are risks. And it finishes with leaky gut, which is often not recognized in the traditional medical system as near as serious as it is. But everything from gluten to heavy metals to the stuff that it probably sounds like we're talking about over and over and over. There's over 10,000 articles on the government research site called PubMed on leaky gut and the downsides that it has on your body, and of course, for the meaning of this book, on your heart. So what do you need to do? You need to avoid those things. You need to be aware. You need to help your body's immune system. This is why we talk so highly about getting adjusted, is because it helps stimulate your immune system. It helps your body fight. And so, like it says, your body fights back. It's your body doing the right thing when it creates this inflammation. But if you can reduce the inflammation, you're so much healthier. So I hope you're reading. Pick up the book this weekend. Shoot us a message. Keep in mind too, if you like or comment on the book, and then it helps us spread this message to more people. And I want to specifically point out Renee, who just commented that she just finished her book. So congratulations. Happy Easter and have an awesome day, all.